All right. We're at Doug DeShepper's farm near Bremen, Indiana. And my name's Mark Reel. I'm a regional agronomy leader for the East region. And this is Amanda Goffnut.
Hi, I am the commercial agronomist for Michigan and Northern Indiana.
And we're here at Doug's in Northern Indiana. And we're going to discuss some early corns for this area. This is actually probably more for southern Michigan, but we're talking about some early planted corns because guys in this area wanted to talk a little bit about 99 or 98 day up to 102. And we've got 3 hybrids that we want to discuss. The first is 2V489. It's about a 99 day. That one we can probably plant more at when we talk about higher populations with that one.
Higher populations with that one, yes.
Okay, what about soil types?
Soil types, keep it on your better ground.
Okay,
Little higher management practice with that one, and you will see the yields with it.
Typical of our V hybrids, better management, higher populations on better ground, typically to max out yield. There is also a 100-day corn called 2T498. That's kind of the one that I target when I think about it. It's a tall corn, has potential for dual purpose capabilities. More moderate pops because it tends to have what kind of ear type?
Flex ear type.
Flex ear type, okay. Typically large number of kernels or rows around 20, 24, 22, and then it'll be 42, 44 long, but it's another one that you want to keep the populations probably below 32, right?
Right.
Yeah, probably more like 28 to 32. And then the last one that we'll talk about is a new one. It's MY01C77. That one tends to be able to go on any type of ground. I would probably not choose it as my first planted. It's a little slow out of the ground initially, but after it catches up, it does very well. Basically, good fertility, good management, but it'll also handle poorly drained. It is also a hybrid that will, from the standpoint of being able to manage nitrogen, you can do pre-plant nitrogen applications with that one versus the other two. I would try to manage more for side dress. That one you could pre-plant, doesn't seem to be as susceptible to late end loss, but still will take advantage of it. Good test weight on the grain corn for that one versus the other two. I would say the other two are just average at best.
You're right.
Okay, thanks. Hi, we're actually again at Doug DeShepper's farm, and we're looking at what we'd consider to be kind of the early corns for most of the area of northern Indiana. We're looking at between 102 and 105 day. We've got a couple new ones here. We've got MY02J51, which is kind of like we had a popular hybrid called 2K595. Comes out of the ground early. What kind of soil types do you
Variable
think?
soil types. It can go across variable soil types.
Very consistent, good for no-till, good for early placement again, early planting. Fits very well for that. Disease package wise, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it does okay. You see a little bit of GLS like even in here. It does also get a little bit of northern, but for the most part, as an early corn, will handle itself fairly well. I think in this kind of disease pressure year, I'd probably recommend the fungicide for it. Normally, you might be able to get away with planting it early and not having this quite that kind of pressure, but as a 102 day. Currently, we only offer it as a Roundup Ready, I believe, but we will be looking at the Power Corn list option for this hybrid, but very good early corn out of the ground, no-till, plant it, go, colder soils, manages itself well, and has a fairly good size, you know, height-wise, so pretty good corn. The other corn that we'll talk about is MY05C67. That's a SmartStax RA hybrid. That one, how about soil types on that one?
Again, variable soil types with that one. It can go across many different options of soils.
Okay, I wouldn't recommend that as being my first planted though. It does tend to be a little bit slower out of the ground. Doesn't tend to, you know, manage it up on fertility, right?
Yes, definitely.
More so on that one versus the 13526. I think 13526, or excuse me, the MY02J51. We want to manage for nitrogen, but this one you probably want to manage for all fertility. Kind of think of it like our 2V489 type of hybrid where we manage fertility for the whole environment there. Okay, thanks. Okay, we're kind of looking at one of the what we call mid-season about 106 day, 2T619. Amanda, how would you place this one relative to the lineup?
Well, relative to the lineup, this one again will go over variable soil types. So you can place it just about anywhere. It'll come out of the ground okay. It's not too bad with that.
Probably want to use a starter with it.
Yes.
We forgot to mention that with the 05 C67 is those are two that you probably want to use some kind of starter, probably a phosphorus type starter that has it in there so that we can get that root system established a little bit earlier. The 2T tends to have a little bit shallower root system, little not as fibrous out, so you can manage a little bit more on population with it. But you definitely want to match fertility with it as well. It's more of a workhorse type hybrid, so we kind of keep it from the standpoint of, you know, yield kind of maxing out in that 220 range, so that's still pretty good, but we can keep it and manage it more for those variable acres and what I'd consider to be more, probably not the high-end yield zone, but more stress acres.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely gets you the decent plant size and everything, but gets out once it eventually gets the starter going, it'll get out of the ground. All right. We talked about 2T619 kind of more for the workhorse kind of, but here's where the hybrid that we want to use for more of the higher end, and that's 2Y669.
669, yes.
Yeah, so we want to do that where we've got the good fertility, match the populations to it, can do higher populations with it. Not quite as, well, it's just a good management, but not as late season necessarily have to keep the nitrogen too late in their season, but you definitely want to use, you know, take advantage of side dress applications. We'll give you what I call a semi flexible ear, consistent through there. Definitely did very well in our trials last year. Looks very good in our plots this year. Does get a fairly tall plant structure, but probably can handle what kind of soils?
Soils would be a little bit variable with this one also, but you would want to place it again on your better soil types.
Yeah, but it can handle some poorly drained as well. Good root system on it, everything. Okay, great. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about 2G685. This is an AgriSure 3000 GT hybrid that we've had in our lineup. Really good, high-end, basically good fertility management, a lot like 2Y669. This one does come with some amazingly good ability to ear flex. Across the soil types, pretty good.
Pretty decent, yep.
Yeah, and I think that the one thing is about this hybrid is it has outstanding yield. Not necessarily the best of test weight, so we'll talk about that from that perspective, but really a good hybrid to be able to use for those high-end acres, to use along with 2Y669 as a complement. We'll handle some other things, but relatively to this mid-group of three hybrids that we talked about, this would be probably one that we could add in on those high-end acres to be able to use with guys.
Alright, so we are now talking about the new version MY09 B41, and this is currently available as a Roundup Ready or conventional, but we will have it as Enlist PowerCore.
This one offers really good test weight as one of our corns. Good management, match the fertility to the population. So if you're doing high job of fertility, you can match the populations up. Good stalks, good roots. Variable soils will handle the poorly drained wet clays of Northeast Indiana. So it's a good hybrid to look at. Again, as we get future trait versions, we'll offer that. But currently as a Roundup Ready and a conventional, awesome hybrid to look at, to add to the lineup, just to take a look at for this year. All right. Hi, we're back, and part of what we're talking about here is our 111 day, 110, 111 day options. We of course have 2V709, and then we're also introducing MY11 C27, which is 111 day. Both outstanding yielders. Really good yield potential with both. The MY11 C27, what kind of soil types are we looking at with that one, Amanda?
That one will go across variable soil types, but is a little bit better in the wet conditions.
Okay, so it can handle the poorly drained soils a little better?
Yes.
Versus our 2V709, which traditionally has been for lighter soils, under the pivot kind of hybrid that's done really well. Neither of these would I recommend necessarily in narrow row production. The 2V709 tends to have bigger leaves and tends to do better in the wider row, and I think the MY11C27 does as well.
Yes.
Taller plant type, and also you'll increase your chances of green snap if you try to put it into narrow row production at high populations. So
especially if there's a chance of high winds, yeah.
Yeah, we want to manage the populations for both of these to manage for that. So probably, you know, no more than 35,000 with the 2V709 and probably more like 33, 32 with the MY11C27. Don't you think?
That's right, yes.
Okay, thanks. All right. We're at the full season for Northern Indiana, a couple hybrids that we use. These are two that we like for Northern Indiana because of the going from sands to clays. Seems to work real well. Amanda, the 2C788, can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, 2C788 is a little bit better on the tougher ground, and it'll have a higher test weight. So with that one, you know, you just want to make sure, as you can see behind me, that you want to push the N a little bit to it.
Yeah, we want to make sure we're matching nitrogen to that. You can push the plant pops because it's good standability. It's a shorter type corn, lower profile corn. And
Right.
so it tends to have, you know, good ear placement. It's a little slower growing during the season, so probably another one you want to use a starter with to get it going early in the season. But it's also one that, like Amanda said, make sure you push nitrogen at the end. The 2A749, 112 day, is one that we can also use a little bit better ground. I don't think you want to put it quite on the poorly drained. That's where you'd use the 2C788, but the 2A749 does tend to give us a little more top end. Can work in a narrow, both of these can work in a narrow row environment. And so they're both giving us the opportunity to be able to maximize yields by putting the number of plants out, but you need to match the fertility to whatever you're doing there. So if you're putting it into tougher soils like 2A749, again, consider side dress nitrogen for both of these hybrids, probably a little better off. Thank you.